It's time for Recipe of the Day. You've heard me rave about my baked chicken wing recipe before and how over 6 million people have visited that recipe. It's got hundreds and hundreds of comments and 5-star ratings. It is one of the best recipes from either of my websites. And it's because you get these really crispy chicken wings that are done in the oven. So unlike when you deep fry them where you can only do like 8 at a time, you can do a whole sheet pan or 2 sheet pans or 3 sheet pans, as many sheet pans of wings as will fit in your oven. You can do at once, which is really great when you're having a game day party. That's right. We are in the season of big game days with Super Bowl under a month away. So if you want to make some wings for that basic baked chicken wing recipe is a great one to try, and I will link to that in the show notes for this podcast episode. But today I'm actually talking about a dry rub for chicken wings, and the reason that I came up with this dry rub was because people who loved that baked chicken wing recipe, lots of people in the comments have asked if they can mix other things in with the baking powder that is used to crisp up the skin on those chicken wings, and the answer is yes, you can add these dry rub ingredients and they're going to work wonderfully. So yeah, a bit about the baking powder. The way that those baked chicken wings get so crispy is because they are lightly dusted with baking powder, not so much that you can taste it, just a little bit of baking powder on there. And baking powder is alkali as opposed to acidic. And the alkali pH of that baking powder changes the pH of the skin on the chicken and it makes it crisp up better. So that's how they get so crispy. And just so you know, I have done the side-by-side test of baking powder wings and non-baking powder wings cooked exactly the same way. And the baking powder ones are for sure crispier. It's kind of crazy. So this dry rub is basically just adding extra flavor to that baking powder so that you have more flavor on your wings. And so what you're going to do is you're going to mix together a tablespoon of baking powder, 1¼ teaspoons of salt, 1½ teaspoons of chili powder, 3/4 of a teaspoon of smoked paprika, and 3/4 of a teaspoon of garlic powder. That is everything. So the baking powder is going to do the crisping. The salt is going to do the salting. The chili powder has that little bit of savory heat to it. You could add a little bit of cayenne if you wanted it even spicier. And then of course the smoked paprika has that like deep smoky flavor. It almost makes the wings taste like they were grilled. Garlic powder, just savory goodness all the time. You could throw some onion powder in there as well if you want to, but I don't really think it needs it. Okay, that seasoning blend is enough for 10 wings that have been split into wing pieces. That is the drums and the flats. So you will have 20 wing pieces. You put those into a big bowl with the seasoning blend, or you can use a big zip top bag and you just shake and toss them around. And then from there, you can cook them any way you want to. You wouldn't deep fry them, but you can bake them, you can air fry them, or you can grill them. My favorite though is to bake them, and so I'm just going to tell you how to do that. I like to line a big baking sheet with aluminum foil. That just makes cleanup easier. And then put an oven-safe metal rack on top of that and spray that with some cooking spray or oil it lightly. That's just so the chicken wings don't stick to it. You're going to crisp up all that skin. You don't want to leave it all behind on the rack, right? Then you heat the oven to 250 degrees Fahrenheit, and those wings go in there just for 30 minutes. Now, this is not cooking them. This is just letting that baking powder have time to start to affect the pH of the skin and dry out the skin a little bit. So that is 250 degrees Fahrenheit for 30 minutes, and then you don't have to open the oven or anything. Just increase the heat to 425 degrees Fahrenheit, and then you're cooking those until they're nice and brown and crispy outside. It's going to be about 40 to 50 minutes. That sounds like a lot. Wings are small, but I promise you the skin's crisp and the meat is still juicy inside. Now you take those out of the oven and then let them rest for just a couple of minutes and then serve them just like that. They have a beautiful seasoning blend on them, or you can toss them with a sauce, buffalo sauce, teriyaki sauce, whatever kind of wing sauce you want. You can toss those wings in that and dig in. And I'll just say, if you are doing this for any kind of party where you want to maybe do subsequent batches of the wings, you can get them all seasoned up in that baking powder spice rub blend ahead of time and have them in like big zip top bags in the fridge already seasoned to just put out onto the pans when they're ready to go in. You can do that first drying step to a bunch of them and then transfer racks of them, not not touching and not covered in plastic to the fridge for up to a day. Air circulating in the fridge around them is actually going to dry them out even more and make them even crispier. So you can do that drying step first up to a day in advance, and then you're just doing the 425 cook until they're cooked through and crispy on the outside, 40 to 50 minutes still. So it's pretty easy to do lots of pans of these if you're having a lot of people over and you want to have wings. See what I mean? I will put the link to this recipe in the show notes for this podcast episode, or you can head to cookthestory.com/ROTD and get it there, or find it in our Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/recipeotd. And hey, just a quick note. I'm on a recording hiatus right now, so for the next little while, I'm replaying episodes from the archives, including this one. If you heard me mention a holiday, a season, or something going on in my life that seemed a bit off, that's why. Thanks so much for listening, and I hope you're enjoying these older episodes. I am Christine Pittman from cookthestory.com, thecookful.com, cookfor2.us, and from this podcast, Recipe of the Day. I hope you have a great day. Let's get cooking.